well,
Yeah, you want to
here.
show up so now, practical task number 6 was just for warming up. So it was the easy assignment, and this one is extremely hard. We raised like 2 levels in here, becoming Excel experts. So the phones, the video, and then try to follow my instructions step by step. What we're doing here is shift schedule. We will see a lot of this when you graduate and start working in an actual world. So you see you and your colleagues what different types of shifts you are working. All the days of the month, so day shifts, night shifts, first regular, and so on and so on. Then the shift schedule automatically calculates the different types of shifts for the particular employee and then calculates the total number of working hours. So after, when you start working in a ward, you had to work a certain amount of hours, working hours, it depends on the month. So when you work a little bit extra, then in the end of the month you're paid a little bit extra. And if you don't work enough, so next month you have to work several more shifts than usual. This is how it goes in real life. So in order to do that, we need again Microsoft Excel. In there we start with the names of the accounts, but pay attention that we start on the second row, not the first one. The first one is reserved for something really special, user function, which we will create later. So we are writing on the second row name. After that we need the days of the month, but not just any month, but the month and the year when you were born. Meaning you start on the first day of that month. I was born on the 9th of August 1975. I'm really ancient, so I start with the 1st of August 1975. Now pay attention to the bottom right corner of the screen where you can see the date format. In the clock there, if you're working on a computer with Bulgarian regional settings, the date format is day dot month dot year. But if you're working on a computer with, let's say, US regional settings, then the date format will be month / day / year. So this is how you must write the date in order for Excel to interpret it as a date. Okay, then we need all the other days of the month. Good thing that you could use the copying in adjacent cells technique, meaning you select this cell where you have the date and then you start dragging to the right, and you see in the tooltip the dates, they start to increase. The second, the third, the fourth, and so on. So you drag the selector until you reach the end of the month. In my case, it's the 31st of August. So you will have different number of cells, depends when you were born. If you were born in February, then you will have 28 counts. If you were born in March, then you will have 31 counts. Pound characters, you already know, it means you got numeric value in the cells. Right now we will change it to something else, so don't get scared if you get this at that step. Okay, next step would be to change the format of the cells to display only the day portion of the date and nothing more. This is how we do it. While the cells are still selected with the dates, you can click on this arrow button in the number format section, or you could use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+1 for format cells. And right now it says you've got dates in these cells. You need to select the last one, which says custom, and when you select custom you realize that you have this power. With these letters you can tell Excel what portions of the day to display and with how many digits. So D is for day, M is for month, Y is for year. By the way, it's again related to regional settings, so if you're going to do it with Italian regional settings, then you use G for Giorgio. So you need to leave only these. DD means 2 digits for the day portion. When you click OK, this is what you get. Only the day of the date. for all these dates that we have here. Then you need to decrease the width of the columns. The easiest way to do that would be to select the first column, in my case column B, then scroll to the right till you see the last column, then hold the shift key from the keyboard and select the last column. So you're actually selecting the whole range of columns. And when all the columns are selected, with the mouse pointer you go between two adjacent headers of these columns. And when the pointer becomes double black arrow, you double click. So it automatically adjusts the width of all the selected columns. So far, so good. Now, time to write the abbreviations of the shifts. I don't need you to write this legend, just the abbreviations up there are enough. So we are writing D for day shift, N for night shift, R for a regular shift, 1 for first, 2 for second shift, then we have H for holiday and S for sick leave. When you're ill and don't go to work, but you still get paid. Nice. So these columns also need to have the same width as the columns with the days. But if I just double click, the width will be less because we have one character in there, not two characters like with the other columns. So we will use another trick here, and it goes like this. You select one of the columns with the dates, then you use copy, you see the running line around the column, then you select all the columns with the abbreviations of the shifts, and when you select them, you right click somewhere over the selected area. You see the context menu. There is a sub-menu called Paste Special. You don't need to go into the sub-menu, you just need to click over the words Paste Special. When you do it, you see a dialog box where you can select what to copy, and because you're clever, you select column widths. This is the only thing you want to copy, so the columns receive the same width as the columns from where you copy. The last column is total hours. Okay, after you've got this, you need to write several names, people who will be working in the ward. Obviously the most important employee, this is you, so on the first row you write your name. Then you think of 3 other names, it can be anything, even cartoon characters. But if you have cartoon characters in the ward, then it will be just you doing the work. So I go with, let's say, Toshko, then Goshko, then let's say
Pashko.
No, I need a girl in here. So,
Chi sono Koshko? Toshko?
Okay. After that, we need to put some borders. So we select all these cells. You know already how to put borders. Borders button, you click on the triangle, you select all borders. Now, really important, it's in the instructions, in the description of the assignment. Usually shift schedules, we need to print this and put them somewhere on a wall so you and your colleagues can see who is together with you in that particular day. And right now, if I try to print this, it doesn't look good. So what we have to do is go to page layout, and then in the page setup section we click the little arrow in the bottom right corner to display the page setup dialog box. We already done that in practical task number 6, but here we'll be working in the first tab, page. We need to make horizontal orientation for the sheet of paper, so landscape orientation, and then we select this option which says fit to 1 page wide by 1 page tall, making Excel scale the table to fit it on a single sheet of paper. And when I click OK, if I now try to use print preview, it looks really good. Print it on a single sheet of paper. So, next step, really important. If I don't see it in your assignments, you will have 5 instead of 6. And this step is to set data validation. So, to limit the user what he can type in the cells of the worksheet. You select these cells where you have different types of shifts, and I want to limit the user only to type these abbreviations and nothing else, because it can break my formulas if the user uses different letter, for example. This is how we do it. We select data, tap up there in the ribbon, and then in data tools section you need the button data validation. Be careful because it depends on your screen resolution and other things. Sometimes you can just see the icon of the button, and when you hover over it you see data validation in the tooltip. When you click this button you see the data validation dialog box, and right now it says any value, which means you can type anything. You need to change this any value to list of possible values, and then you select source. One way would be to enumerate the values and separate them with semicolon, but if you have the values in the cells of the spreadsheet, another useful way, and this is what we're going to do here, is just to select these cells with the abbreviation starting with the first one till the last one. You see the cell range. The other thing is absolute, by the way. Also, if you want, you can set an error message. It's not necessary, but it looks good. Right now I can say error, for example, and the error message is please select an option from the list. Several exclamation marks. Okay, now if I try to type something stupid in the cell, I get this error message, please select an option from the list. If I click on the button when the cell is selected, I see the drop down. The drop down contains only these abbreviations. I can select something from that drop down. Okay, then you need to fill some data. You don't always have to select from the drop down. If you're typing the correct values, you can type them from the keyboard. So let's say that I will work day shift followed by night shift, 2 days break, then day shift, night shift. Again, I need time to rest, of course. Then I'll do some regular shifts. After that, I go on a holiday, but suddenly I break my leg and go into sick leave.
How many types of holiday? We did this in Italy.
Yeah. So, a little bit more data for the other people in the list. We'll get to the formula part. Right now we're typing some data, so when we apply the formulas to see actual values in there, not just zeros. Okay, regular, and Tina works night shifts with the head of the wall. Okay, so far so good. Now time to calculate, time to write the formulas. So we'll start here. We need to calculate the number of the day shifts for me. The easiest way would be to manually type the formula in the cell. So we start with equals, and we're going to use one of the how to say more special functions which we discussed in the lecture, and it's called count if, conditional counting. When I open the bracket, I see the syntax of the function, so it needs two arguments, range and criteria. Range is where to count, criteria is when to count. So the range is starting from the first day of the month till the last day of the month for me. So these are the cells where I want the function to count. Then I click semicolon, and the second argument is when to count. I want to count the day shifts, obviously when Excel sees letter D. One way would be to type it in the formula, but better way would be to click the cell where I already have the value, and to see later why. So this is the formula. I close the bracket. When I click enter, I get the value, the number of the day shifts I worked, or actually that I will work during the month. You can easily check if the formula is working correctly if you add another day shift, and the counter should increase by 1. It did. Nice. Good job. But right now, this function works only in this particular cell. And you already know that the reason to use Excel is to type as less as possible. So we will use what I said our last class, the little trick, partial absolute addressing. So this is how we're gonna do it. We double click on the cell to edit the formula. And now I want to add dollar character for this range of cells where the function is counting only in front of the columns, like this. I'm doing it manually from the keyboard. Shift+4 adds the dollar character, because if you have to use F4 you have to click like 8 times, so it's easier just to type the symbol. The meaning of this, the column is absolute in this case, so unchangeable. The row can change, meaning if I copy this formula to the right, it will still look for cells in between the columns B to A5. But if I copy the formula down, it will change the row, and instead of row being 3, then it will become 4, 5, 6, so it will look in the correct row for values. It will count in the correct row for these values. Then the second argument, I want the row to be absolute, unchangeable. So row number 2, meaning if I copy the formula down, the row won't change, it will look in row number 2, where is the abbreviation of the shift. If I copy the formula to the right, the column can change, so it will look for that value in the correct column. Again, I click enter, but now I can copy this formula in this range of cells. So the easiest way would be to use copy and paste. You execute Ctrl+C as a keyboard shortcut for the copy command, then you select this range of cells, and then you execute Ctrl+V, paste, keyboard shortcut, and automatically get values. Nice and easy. Okay, time to calculate the total number of working hours based on the different shift types that we already have. So in the description of the assignment you will see, but actually when you start working you learn it the hard way. The different types of shifts, they've got different durations. So day and night shifts, they're really long, 12-hour shifts. So you go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, you go home at 8 o'clock in the evening. Then a regular shift is only 8 hours, meaning you go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, you go home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And first and second shifts are shorter, they're 6 hours, meaning you go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, you go home at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Holidays and sick leaves are interpreted as a regular shift, so they've got 8 hours duration. So, to apply this, we start typing the formula. It equals the number of the day shifts, you click on the cell where you get the number, multiplied by the duration of the day shift, which is 12 hours. We already know that. Plus the number of the night shifts multiplied by the duration of the night shifts, which again is 12 hours, plus the number of the regular shifts multiplied by the duration, which is 8 hours exactly, plus the number of the first shifts multiplied by the duration, which is 6 hours, plus the number of the second shifts multiplied by the duration, again 6, plus the number of the holidays multiplied by the duration, which is 8 hours, plus the number of the sick leaves multiplied by the duration, which again is 8 hours. You click enter and it automatically calculates the total amount of hours. You can copy the formula down, you need no absolute addressing here. So this is how the shift schedule looks. Unfortunately, this is the easy part of the assignment. So the idea is you need to make the schedule look like this. The non-work days should be colored in the background should be in different color, and for that It requires you to write your own, very own user function which receives a cell from the spreadsheet, that cell containing date, and if that particular date is workday, then the function should return false. If that particular date is non-work day, then the function should return true. As non-work days are considered Saturdays, Sundays, your own birthday, that's why we have the month when you were born, and your group day, the number of your group. So in your case, number 6 or number 19, this will be a national holiday, so no one will be working. Okay, how to do that? What I said in the lecture, to write user functions, you need to open the macro editor of Microsoft Excel. In order to do that, you need to click the keyboard shortcut Alt plus F11 from the keyboard.
Alt
Yes,
plus
you hold
7.
Alt, then you click on F11.
F11.
You see this window, and in this little pane which says VBA project, you need a place to write the function. You need to right click, then select insert module, and this is the place where you can type the code for your function. Now, typing here actually is actually it is programming using Visual Basic for applications, but the idea is not to make programmers. The idea is just to know that you have this kind of power, and if you want to use it, then you can define some really complex user functions, not initially included in the built-in functions of Excel. In this particular case, the function gives some values based on a date where your own birthday is included. So it should return true if it is your birthday. Obviously, no built-in function can do that. So, how it goes? You need several keywords. Here you start with typing function. Yeah, so you're telling yourself you're defining a function. Then you need a name for your function. This is how you're gonna call your function from the spreadsheet. It's a good thing to have meaningful names, so the name shows you what the function will do. In my case, I decide that my function will be named is holiday, meaning that if it is holiday, it returns true. If it is not holiday, then it returns false. So after that, we need brackets, and in the brackets are the arguments which the function receives to be able to calculate something. So in our case, it receives a cell from the spreadsheet. So I name a variable a cell. I cannot use just the word cell because it's reserved word. It's used for other things. So just one cell, a cell. And then I need to define the type of this variable. So I use the keyword s. And after I click the space, Excel suggests different types that I can use for that variable. Unfortunately for us, there is no cell type, data type. So Excel always works with ranges of cells, meaning that I start typing range, it appears in there, I can select it and then close the bracket. When I click enter, if everything is fine, Excel covers the keywords in blue, capitalizes the letter, and automatically adds the AND function statement. So everything between function and the name of your function and AND function will be the body of the function where the calculations will take place. So the first thing to do here would be to initialize the return value of our function. So is holiday, the name of the function, I want it to be equal to false. When I click enter, false becomes blue with capital letters, so it's a keyword, meaning my function will always return false. Doesn't matter what, until I check some conditions and then decide that the return value should be true and not false, obviously when it's non-work day. Then it's a good thing to define your birthday and group day. Usually we use constants for that, but in this case it will be easier for you to use variables. So I'm defining a variable birthday which is equal to my birthday. I was born on the 9th of August. You just need the day. Then group day. Back in the
6.
days, I use group 6. In my case, it will be 8 because I was group 8 as a
you were?
student. Yes, of course I was a student. Then, you need, bless you, to extract the date from the cell which we have. That's why I define a variable a date. Then it is equal to this a cell that I already have, and you already know that it's not a single cell but range of cells. That's why I open a bracket and Excel suggests row index and column index. So which cell from this range I want to use? I want to use the cell which is the top left corner of the range. First row, first column. This assures that my function will work, doesn't matter what the function receives as an argument. If someone selected the whole range of cells, it will work with the cell in the top left corner. If someone selected just one cell, it will still work. Then I close the bracket and without, how to say, putting you deep into object-oriented programming, you may know that all arguments that you receive from the worksheet are actually objects and they have different properties. So if you receive a cell, you can access what the font is, what is the background of the cell, what is the value, what is the formula, many things by using the name of the property which you need. In our case, we need a property called value, so I'm using this expression dot value. It will give me the value which is in this cell, the top left corner of the cell range I received as an argument.
Between the two one, there is a space.
Yeah, because it looks good, but the important separator here is the comma.
Okay.
So comma is what you need. When I click enter, V becomes capital letter, so Excel understands that I'm using this property. Now in the variable date, I have the date which is in the cell. Okay, time to check this date. So I'm using this keyword if. The if operator works like this. If a condition is true, then something is executed. If not, then it will not be executed. So my first condition, I want to check if the day of this date, so I'm using one of the built-in functions in Visual Basic for applications, it's called day, and when you open the bracket you see that it receives a date argument and extracts only the day portion of that day. So a number returns a number between 1 and 31. So I want to check if the day of my date, the variable date which I have, is equal to my birthday. If yes, obviously holiday. The function should return true in this case. Okay, but it's not just this condition. So I'm typing or. So if one thing is correct, or the other. This is what we're gonna have here. So, or the second condition is if the day of my date is equal to the group day. Again, if this is true, the function should return true. Or the last condition, I must check if it is Saturday or Sunday. For that, I'm using another function in Visual Basic, and it's called weekday. Again, it receives a date argument and returns a value between 1 and 7. So 1 for the first day of the week, 7 for the last day of the week. So the first argument is the date, but unfortunately for us, Americans created Excel, meaning the default week format is the American one, and in America the first day of the week is Sunday, not Monday. So we use a second optional argument. We're typing comma. When we click space, Excel offers different constants which we can use here. We're selecting the second one which says VB Monday. VB comes from Visual Basic, so I'm telling this function that here Monday is the first day of the week, meaning the function should return 1 if it is Monday, 2 if it is Tuesday, 3 if it is Wednesday, and so on. I'm closing the bracket, so right now weekday returns a value between 1 and 7, and I want to check if that value is larger than 5. So, meaning If it returns 6, it's Saturday, which is larger than 5. If it returns 7, then it's Sunday, again larger than 5. So with a single condition, I'm covering the whole weekend. So if this is true, higher than 5, then the function should return true. So this is what I'm typing. Then the name of my function is holiday equals true. You don't need to click enter, you just need to click somewhere with the mouse. It covers the keywords in blue, capitalizes the letters, so it looks good. But you know if it is really good when you go back in the spreadsheet and use this function. This is the reason we wrote the function. So going back to the spreadsheet, on the first row we have to type our function. So we start with equals, then we use the name which we defined is holiday, and it appears. Nice, good start. When I double click it, then it asks for the argument. The argument should be a cell from the spreadsheet containing the date. Good thing it's in this cell, address B2, the first day of the month. So equals the bracket and click enter, and if everything is fine, as a return value I should get either true or false, depending whether that particular day is work day or non-work day. After I've written the formula, I have relative addressing in here, so I can copy the formula till the last day of the month and get the results. Right now I'm getting pound characters because there's not enough space to display true or false as a word in these cells. So in the assignment it says hide these values because it doesn't feel good when you want to print it on a printer. You see a lot of pound characters, and an easy trick to use here would be to change the font color to white. So we will have white letters on white background, basically invisible. Unfortunately, in several such cases, Excel automatically changes the width of these columns to fit the true and false values. And this means I have to use the trick with copying the column width again, using one of these columns with the abbreviations as a source. So I select it, click copy, then select all the columns with the, of course with shift, with the days, and then right click on the selected area, select paste special, and select column width, just like I did a second ago. Okay, now we've got the formula, our custom, working with our custom function, returning true and false, and the whole reason for that was to be able to change the background of the cell. So this is how we're gonna do it. We select the cells where we want the background to change, and we select conditional formatting. The idea of the conditional formatting is if a certain condition is met, then the formatting is applied. If the condition is not met, then the formatting is not applied. So you can define many different rules. If the value of the cell is larger than a specific value, if the value is contains maybe some special characters, you could define many things. So we're selecting new rule in here, and we're going for the most complex one, which is use formula to determine whether to apply the formatting or not. The idea is if the formula returns true, then the formatting is applied. If the formula returns false, then the formatting is not applied, and it's really good that we already have true and false in these cells. So what we do here is we click on this field where it says format values where this formula is true, and then we select the first cell where we have our formula. In my case, address B1. This is where the first cell where I have true or false. Now you must be careful because Excel assumes that you want full absolute addressing, and this is not what you want in this case. So you have to erase the dollar character in front of the column. It becomes $1, meaning that the column is relative, the row is absolute. So the formula will work like this. If you copy it down, it will still look for values in row number 1, the true and false values. But the column is relative, meaning when you copy the formula to the right, it will look in the correct column for is it true or false in the first row. Then you need to click on the format button to select what will change if this is true, and you need to change the background color in the field tab. In the assignment it says you need to select white gray as a background, but you can use any color which you prefer, like red or orange or blue, your favorite color. So let it be green in my case. When you click OK, if everything is fine, the non-work days should be colored, the background in different color. Now, last thing to do, and again you must be careful with that step, would be to save the file. So you go to File, Save As, but now your worksheet contains a macro, so yes, it's dangerous. You need to save it as another file type, which would be, as Ibrahim said, XLSM file type, macro enabled workbook. Because if you save it as the default file type XLSX, Excel will erase the macro, and then I won't see it when starting to grade your assignments, and then your grade won't be 6. So you save as XLSM. The file name is your faculty number -PT07, and then you upload it in the system for distance learning. So
Stop. Can I?
yeah, you
Okay,
can
basta.
stop.